It's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to DDP Snake Pit. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famers, Jake the Snake Roberts. How are you, man?
Ready to go.
And DDP, what's new with you, dude? How's it going?
Dude, all good, man. Today's word is unstoppable. We're on a roll right now. Episode 3. We're excited about it.
Well, we are excited to be here with you. We want to pick up where we left off, Jake. When we finished up last week, we were talking about you going into treatment on November 10th, 1992. And then Bill Watts, your arch nemesis here, he announces You're gone from WCW the next day at a TV taping in Atlanta. But let's pick up with you. Like, what were your plans when you left WCW? Were you hoping to get back with Vince, or did you have plans outside of the country, or try your hand at independence? Professionally, what was your goal?
You know, at the time, brother, the only goal I had then was, where's my dealer? You know, and it's true. You know, I didn't care about anything else other than feeding my addiction. I had no plans at all. I mean, even my lawyer, whenever we settled with Turner for taking half my money, because I did get all that back. He's like, well, don't just get what they owe you. You need to get more than that, and you need to get your job back. I can get that for you. I'm like, I don't need it. How foolish was that?
Right.
You know, because ultimately, Turner would not have me back. And I understand that. I sued him. You know, so all I wanted was the money they owed me, and that's all I took. But that doesn't get you a ribbon, and doesn't get you a job. It doesn't help your status at all. So no, I had no plans at all, man. It was such an angry time in my life because separated from my wife. I was spiraling down, and I had no idea just how far down I would go. Because, man, I went to hell and back. And I took my time doing it. I'm so grateful that I didn't wind up in prison or dead. Some of the shenanigans that I pulled back then, oh my God. I mean, stealing a car in Puerto Rico so I could go to get some more dope, you know, at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then when I get down to that area, guys are coming out of their houses with automatic weapons and telling me that they're going to kill me. And I'm like, just give me my dope. That's all I want. And they recognized me, thank God, and said, Jake, you can't come down here at night. We don't do this. And I'm like, hey man, just give me my shit and let me go. They're like, okay, we're going to give it to you, but we're going to keep your car. I'm like, well, fine. Take the car. No, I don't have the keys.
I never heard that story.
Yeah.
There's a few of them, though.
Yeah, well, not something I was proud of, man.
No, but you made that. You took a very serious, dark thing and made it funny.
Well, that's what I did, man. And if I hadn't have been Jake the Snake, I can tell you dozens of instances where I would have been shot, cut, robbed. You know, I mean, it's just horrible, man. When I look back, and you know, those memories, unfortunately, don't go away. You know, I wish I could tell you that I don't think about those things, but I do. I have flashbacks all the time, and I remember the things that I did and horrible things. And, you know, I didn't take it out on other people. I took it out on myself.
Yeah, you beat yourself up a lot.
You know, and I was so angry at myself that I'd blown a career. I didn't know how to get out of it, and I wasn't ready to get out of it because I was just living in hate, you know, and hate for my upbringing, hate for, you know, you can blame it on anything you want, but bottom line, it comes down to you. And that's what I had to really get to, you know, and they tell you that you won't change till you hit your bottom. Brother, I didn't hit the bottom. I went underneath the barrel, and I stayed for a long time. And, you know, I did some independence and stuff just so I could get more dope. You know, that was all it was about, man. And God, it's horrifying, man. It really is.
I gotta say this. Steve Yu sent me a text, and we're going to do this Motivational Monday for for our DDP Yoga app, and it's a quote, and it says, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Exactly. And damn sure it is, man.
Buddha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I never bought from that guy.
It is crazy though. Like the level of street cred that wrestlers have. Like,
oh God, yeah.
You can go deep into any really bad area
in the world,
in whether it's, black, white, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Mexican, doesn't matter. When you're one of us who were lucky enough to live that dream and live at that elite spot for a while, you just get like this cred, and it knows no color or no, religion or ethnicity. It's really crazy. And that's why Jake I always said, if a cat's got 9 lives, a snake's got 13.
Yeah. Yeah. But they aren't fun. And that's the thing that I want to get out there, that you have no idea how low you will go. And once you're there, it's so hard to get out, because who the hell's going to help you? Because 30 days or 90 days in a rehab does not fix you. I'm living proof of that. And so is Scott Hall. I've been to several rehabs and it did not work. And the reason it doesn't work, and this is just my thoughts, is they take you in and basically you're locked up. And no, you're not going to get any drugs in there, and didn't try though. But at the end of 90 days, they pat you on the back and they give you a certificate and wish you good luck. And then you walk outside and it's the real world again. And you've been in a hole for 90 days, not making any money. And now you've got every lawyer that chasing you. You've got the cops chasing you because you haven't paid your child support. You've got your rent people that want their 3 months of back rent. So they're throwing your stuff out on the street. Your car's been repossessed. Now where does your mind go? Right back to the dope, because that's the only thing that'll erase all this pain. And that's what it's all about, is the pain. You don't want to feel it no more. You don't want to feel the pressure no more. You don't want to feel any of it anymore. You just want utopia, man. Peace.
Well, I've got to say that I think that the amount of time you did spend in a rehab, I think that each time it stuck a little bit better, because we would have never been able to do what we did if you didn't have some sort of background and what they do teach to a certain degree.
I don't know, Dallas. I don't know. The whole thing with you was you took care of me financially, so I didn't feel the push on that, because I stayed with you for over 2 years, close to 3.
Yeah.
But if you'll remember, I was still screwing up 6 months or a year into it, and if I would have been on the street and not paying my bills, I would have felt all that pressure and I would have felt all that need. But no, I was living in a beautiful house, eating the best food on the planet and living clean. My body appreciated it. Then, when we started working out, I went from not being able to do jack squat to actually being able to do some of the workouts.
Right.
And that gave me self-respect. I started to like myself because I was able to do things again. I didn't think I would ever be able to do a workout, ever, because I'd trashed my body so much with the drugs and the alcohol. I ballooned up to over 300 pounds. And, it was horrifying, man. And when you get down like that, man, how do you get back up? And if not for not only Dallas, and Steve,
everybody,
Dylan, Garrett, some of the guys, everybody but
Linda,
the L word. And, they all picked me up and they all loved me. they liked me. And at first that was hard to take because I thought they were full of shit. You know, how can you guys care about me when I'm just a piece of crap?
No, let's go back to where he was talking, where you didn't have a direction. If you have no purpose,
I had no purpose at all, man.
you know, that you have nothing. So that's why, you know, you've always got to develop some sort of goal or some sort of purpose.
My
in your
dreams had all
life.
died.
Right.
I pissed on them all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the thing that was really interesting to that who knew that this would happen 20 years before this? So I tore my rotator cuff and I'm out. And he called, he ended up calling me and seeing how I was doing. And I went to see him at the Marriott and, and to bring him in, we helped each other. And he started doing your independent bookings. And
Yeah.
Jake Roberts could make a lot of money at an independent booking because there was no name out there.
Right.
Like WWE releases people all the time now, so
Well, back then,
there was no Jake the Snake Roberts or that Warrior, but he didn't work.
No.
He didn't work. But you were out there. And in the beginning, when we were together, there was a lot of good things that were happening, but
not without you guaranteeing these people that I'd be there.
right.
I mean, that's the only reason a lot of these guys hired me, man, because Dallas stood up and said, look, he's clean now. I'm watching him. We're going to send somebody.
You're going back to when, a couple years back.
Yeah.
8 years
that's
ago.
Right. I'm sorry, I moved forward.
Yeah, you went too fast. But you're right, because when you did move in the second time, after a while, it was like, no, don't take any bookings right now. Let's just get
true.
right. And then I can tell people, because I ain't telling anybody's doing good unless I see.
And this is true.
For him, like we go back to when we were doing those independent shows. And just to show you what kind of spot Jake was really in, one night I saw him pop like a pill in his mouth and chew it up. And I said, dude, did you just take a Percocet and chew it up? And he said, yeah. I go, why would you do that? They taste like shit. And he's like, well, he said, they got to go right to your system. When you chew them up, it goes right to your brain and it just activates faster. And I said, well, how many is that, man? Because I see you take a couple. He said, I don't know, 9, 10, and that was like at 9 o'clock at night, and we were just like, we were going out and drinking. And then back then I could give him positive energy. I could give him the attention of the who he really is, as you would be that I saw. But there's still times where he's going to go off and do his thing. And 20 years later, I would have way more respect from him on the level for what he helped me to be able to do. So we were equals at that point.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I think was really important, but back when you were just doing the independent scene, man, it was a tough road, man.
I was popping the pills, man, and working and not having a problem with. See, people understand an addict, man. When an addict gets a hold of drugs, they treat him differently than they do a normal person because our wiring is completely burnt, burnt beyond recognition. So things that will put you to sleep make me wake up.
Right.
Normally somebody takes 4 or 5 Percocets, they sleep for a day and a half. Me, I take 4 or 5 Percocets, I can drink a case of beer, a few shots of whiskey, and walk straight line.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's insane, man. And insanity doesn't work for long. Not for long.
So Dallas, let's go back to 1992 here. When Jake is out, in early November of WCW, at least, he's gone. Your story continues, and you're going to continue to try to work your way through the professional wrestling industry in WCW. How close are you with Jake when he's first gone? I mean, I know you guys are really tight now, but what are you thinking about your friend? And did you know the extent of where he was mentally and all that?
No, because he hid it. And that's the one thing that the first thing he'll tell you is, as an addict, you're going to cheat, you're going to lie, you're going to steal, and you're going to really lie. Like, again, what do we do in promos? When we're doing a promo, it was me against Savage. People thought I really hated him.
Right.
I loved Randy Savage. But for the moment, that's the son of a bitch who knocked my wife down and spray painted her ass. Like, fuck you. Like, I'm coming, Randy Savage, and Jake really, those were the things, like looking back at his promos that he's always done, they step into a dark place and they become real fast. So when he all of a sudden was gone, I didn't know what to, I knew him and Bill were going through some dark times, and Bill, there was heat between the both of them. And before I knew it, Jake basically came by and said, dude, just let I'm out of here, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't hear from him for a long time. Until I tore my rotator cuff, and it was Grizzly Smith, his dad, who was the agent that night, who drove me from Tennessee, not Nashville, I was out in Alabama. It drove me back because me and Kevin Nash were tag teaming.
Made this connection, right?
I don't know if you remember this night, but we were all together, and again, we're his chauffeurs, we're the curtain jerkers, me and Nash. Everybody said me and Nash never going to be nothing. They never saw anything in either of us, but he did, and he would talk to us, about thinking ahead, because it's the psychology that he had. But we're in Fort Myers, Florida, my second hometown, where I had my nightclubs, where everything was created, the first place I ever met him. And the finish is supposed to be that here I am, it's me and Kev against JYD and Curtis. And what name did he go by, Curtis, back then?
He was the
Mr. Hughes?
Gunzel.
Yeah, Mr. Hughes. Mr. Hughes. That's what he was doing back then, Mr. Hughes. So the finish is supposed to be, I get taken down for 1-2, and Nash runs out and pulls my foot up on the rope. Runs around, pulls my foot up on the rope. As a matter of fact, he wasn't there. I don't remember how it happened, but he never pulled his foot up on the rope, and I didn't kick out. My own fault, because I'm waiting for him to get there to do the thing. And I was so embarrassed in my hometown. It's so stupid. Now, because all my buddies saw was, it reminds me of heels to a certain degree, which we'll get to later. Being in that moment where I lost. It's like, yeah, it's a work.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's not at times. And I was so pissed off at myself. And it took me a while. Friggin' Jake said, what the hell are you pissed off at yourself for? He was unmerciful to me. It's a work. It was like that conversation that they kind of have
He wanted to die, man, because he let all of his bros down. Anybody that ever known him, because he might have given away a few tickets to get him in there. Only a couple of hundred.
But my club, in that town, I was like famous.
He was a god.
And we all went there afterwards. Everybody was so psyched. They didn't care who won or lost. They were just so psyched that I told them I was going to live this dream. And even though it was at the bottom of the card,
didn't matter, man.
The curtain jerker. They were all so proud of me. And by, halfway through the night, I had a good buzz on. I forgot all about it. But I never forgot that moment of like,
I ribbed him unmercifully talking about him dropping that losing it fall. Man, you look like a piece of crap. All he did was headbutt you and you went down for free. Oh my God.
He was unmerciful.
And he got so mad at me, man.
I kicked the door. I kicked the door open. That's like one of those moments where to you, it's real, no matter what anybody else says.
That's why I tell people, they ask me if it's fixed. And I said, well, only the matches that I lost. The ones that I won, I did that. I did that.
Yeah.
Now, when Jake winds up leaving, it's not like you have it super easy. You're trying to hone your craft with matches against guys like Van Hammer and Eric Watts, who are also new guys.
No, and both really good friends of mine too, like both of them. So, we were all green as grass.
Intentions don't make a good match.
Yeah, we were all green as grass, and and he came in, boy. When Eric came in, being Bill Watts' son, hell of an athlete, 6'5", almost 6'6", legit 265. Didn't have the greatest body, at that, but he had a good body. He was a great athlete, really good guy. And I'm sure I'm going to win the Rookie of the Year because it's, because there's no one else who's doing what I'm doing. For PWI, I'm going to be the Rookie of the Year. And then Watts comes in October, maybe it was September. He beats Arn Anderson. He beats everybody. And he's the Rookie of the Year. And I'm number 2.
And now it's slicing his wrist.
So it gets better. It gets better. So I know Meltzer's going to take care of me because he knows I came in as a match. I worked my ass off. This is going to, I know he ain't going to make it. I'm going to be number 1. I look at that sheet and I see,
oh my God,
number 2 again. Who the fuck is Rey Mysterio? so this is like, what's that, 92? So,
oh God,
97, I believe, Rey comes in, right? So I'm in the back, right? And maybe it's 96. So whatever Conan brought Rey in, whatever year that was, I will never forget it. At some point, I hear Rey Mysterio's up next. And I go, Rey Mysterio? No shit. I go right to the curtain. I watched that match. And I went, wow. I was number 2 by a really long shot.
And rightfully so.
Yeah, that kid could do anything. And I want to say I was 36, and I want to say he was 14.
Yeah,
like
14 or 15.
Like yeah. It was something like I tell him. I laugh about that story with him all the time. I'll tell you what, one of the greatest athletes. I mean, if he was a gymnast.
Oh, yeah.
He would be, the gold medalist for whatever country he wanted to get out there.
Phenomenal.
Do his magic.
In Dallas, shortly after Jake leaves, you find yourself on camera with Scotty Flamingo, who we all know is Raven. What do you remember about working with Scotty before he was Raven?
Oh my God. And I'll tell you even how that even happened. But Scotty was, we all talked a lot. Me, him, and Nash hung together a lot. And it just so happens, when the Vegas thing, and Scotty one punch bingo flamingo, as Nash called him. And we did the thing with Mark Merrow. And I always thought like Scotty had a really amazing, kind of like Jake, he had a really great psychology in the ring. Like even though he came in WWE, he was a manager there, he was working. They just put him in that spot and he didn't get over there, because they weren't going to let him. They didn't see it. I saw it.
He didn't want to manage anyway.
No, he didn't want nothing to do with managing, but he'll do whatever he could do to be in the spot. And then because of the relationship, when he left, and he wasn't with WCW, I'm in Germany. I want to say it's like 94. It's the same tour I think I was on with Hogan. So I think it was 94. And I'm in Germany at one point, and I'm watching MTV. And the only bands I know, I hadn't watched for a couple of years. So the only bands I know is Bruce Springsteen and Aerosmith. Everything else is Green Day, Nirvana, all these bands that I hear, but I don't really know their names, right? And at that time, I came back, and one of my good friends, Tony Palagrossi, who's one of the biggest promoters in New Jersey for bands and festivals and all that stuff. And he picked us, me and Kimberly, up at the airport. And I started talking about how, man, only Springsteen and Aerosmith are the only guys that I actually really know who their music and everything. Everybody else is out. And Tony says to me, he says, who's representing that portion of society now? That, that Green Day, Nirvana, grunge type character. And I went, man, nobody. I go, God, I go,
bada bing.
Yeah, I go, who could do that? And Kimberly goes, Scotty could. And I went, wow, he really could. So I call him up and I tell him the idea. And I said, if you get this down, I'll call Paul Lee and get you in ECW until you're ready. And then you come back here. So we'd start working on the character. And he'd call me up and he'd start with the Raven. Oh, it's good. And then he'd go, you boy. And I go, click. Because all of a sudden he went back to that, Bingo Flamingo character, who was like a rapper kid. And he'd call me, what'd you hang up on me for? I go, because boy doesn't go with the darkness of the grunge kid. Keep working on it. Boom, hang up. He'd call me again. And he took probably about 5 different phone calls before he wow, Scotty, you got this. I'm going to call Paul Lee right now. And I called Paul and he was cool with it, saying, I'll bring him in. And when you need him, take him. He wasn't cool with it when he left.
Right.
But I was very upfront about that. And anybody will tell you, I'm going to tell you exactly the way it is. I'm not going to candy coat it. I'm not going to work you. I'm going to tell you exactly the way it is for my side. And if you want to disagree, that's okay. And then don't use them. But we all know Scotty got up there and he got over crazy, especially with him and Dreamer. He got over huge. And then when he came with us, I thought that, man, this guy's got the potential to be a freaking world champion. And I really believed in him and putting the whole flock behind him. We actually did. Do you know Rich from Fozzy?
Yeah. Great guy.
So Rich had a band back then called Stuck Mojo.
Yep.
And they had, I can't remember who their lead rap singer was. Really, really good though. And they had this band and they asked me if I would be in their video and actually do the color commentating as they're coming out, because they wanted to come out as tag team champions.
Yep.
Rich and his partner, and they came out and I got Raven's Flock involved. And it was a real fun video. And I actually got it played on MTV. And it really helped Rich take his whole band to a different level. And that got him involved with Jericho. And then, they've just done a lot of amazing stuff.
The Stuck Mojo video had the guys wearing the WCW belts, and it was even their album cover. So it was a lot of crossover there. Why do you think the Raven character didn't resonate with Bischoff? He says on his podcast, 83 Weeks, that he just didn't really get it. But we all sort of got Raven, but Eric didn't. Why do you think that is?
I think it was because Scotty today is a really positive guy. He was a very that. What about me? What about Raven? It really and most times this works for you. And Jake will attest to this. When you live the character, it really works for you because it's so believable. Rave really lived that part of the character, but it infiltrated into you can't be like that backstage.
You can't do business that way.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. We would argue about a lot of stuff. Early on, me and Kevin Nash, we would bust his chops so bad because he knew everything. He was really smart, but he knew everything about everything.
Yeah.
And occasionally, I would just go click, and he'd keep talking. We would completely turn out. He goes click, I just changed the channel, Raven. Stop,
Yeah.
And if he'd be talking, Nash click.
He became a heat-seeking missile.
Oh my
in the back.
God. Yeah, he did. But he's such a great guy. And he was so talented. And if you go back to,
he had a great finish.
Yeah.
He had a great finish. Yeah. If you go back to when I lost the US championship to him, I just got done working with for a year with Mach on top.
Right.
They put me with Kurt Hennig, and I get the US title, which was the next spot for me to go. I wanted to bring Raven and Benoit up because both of those guys I felt were world champions at some point. And
they were,
and if Rave would have, right when he gets it, and we're supposed to feud and bring Benoit into everything, which we had been doing, that's when Goldberg came through. And then they were like, boom, beat Raven. But if you look at Raven, got a much longer match than anybody else did up till me, because Raven wasn't just going to get speared, and I would have. It was Jake. I watched Jake and Paul, Cowboy Bob Orton in Singapore. I filmed this match. I actually loaned it to Hammer, Van Hammer, and he lost it on me. But it was a match that went 58 minutes. If they took 3 bumps, it was a lot. But had the people going crazy for damn near an hour. And that's working at a different level. That's a lost art. I don't know if you could ever get that together again, but just it was amazing to watch and to watch the people. But I can't remember know how I brought that up, but it was a segue of a great moment to really watch. One of my favorite matches to watch Jake in was him and DiBiase at the Garden. And when I used to do the MSG
Network.
Yeah. And I watched at one point, somebody gave Jake, while we were on the road doing independence, right? Somebody gave Jake 40 tapes, 2-hour-long tapes of nothing but Jake.
Yeah.
And I just watched one from enhancement matches to, that match with him and DiBiase. DiBiase doesn't get anywhere near the credit that he deserved for.
Neither does Orton.
Not what?
Neither does a Cowboy Bob.
Yeah, right. Either one of those guys. But being there, and that's another reason why Randy is so great. Having his dad and being able to have, it'd be like me having him. But Randy was 20. Coming in. I will never forget when I went up there first time to New York, and they said, "Listen, we want you to go to OVW. We're going to put you with a new kid, Batista, and you guys will do a match against Taker and Kane." And when I get there, I'm talking, and I meet, and Cowboy introduces me to Randy. I said, "Hi, Randy, nice to meet you." And I go, "What's your name?" He goes, "What do you mean, what's my name?" He had a cowboy hat on. I didn't recognize Cowboy because he leaned up. I hadn't seen him in a long time. I was like, "Cowboy!" Gave him a big hug. He's like, "You keep an eye on my son up there." And
his son, my boy, you hear me?
His son did okay.
Yeah.
That guy had a hell of a run, man. Hell of a run.
The match you're talking about aired on Primetime Wrestling. Ted DiBiase and Jake the Snake went 16 minutes and 16 seconds on April 24th, 1989. So look it up on the Peacock, but Madison Square Garden, April 24th.
I thought it was on the 23rd of April, but go ahead.
I love those little fact checkers you got going there, bro.
Yeah.
Really amazing psychology. I mean, it was one of those matches, that, suspended disbelief. Like,
sure,
this is real.
Steamboat and I did one in the Garden too. That was pretty awesome.
Jake, you were talking about Raven. Let's skip ahead a little bit. We were originally talking about Scotty Flamingo, but the Raven character oftentimes gets lumped into your sort of style. It was a darker character. What do you think of the Raven character?
I liked it. Even though he went with the even flow DDT, and I'm like, even flow, isn't that baby bottles? Which would piss him off. And I appreciated what he did with it, and I appreciated his style, man. I thought he was really getting a message out there. I mean, it's not like you would, if you watched one of his matches, you wouldn't invite him to your birthday party, but you would damn sure keep your eye on him because you didn't know what he was going to do.
Right.
You know, there was a mystery behind him, you know, there's substance to it. And I remember Scotty and I having a talk. We went to some establishment in Atlanta to view some things. And
There's like 67, 80 of them in this town.
yeah, and I knew most of them real well. And we were leaving there, and he's like, Jake, what? By this time, he went to the WWF, and they put him into the commentary thing. And he's like, man, it's not what I want to do. I said, then why are you doing it? Well, it's a job. I said, are you in it for a job?
Mm.
You know, again, go back to what you want to be, and keep your eye on the prize, and be you. Because if you fail at you, then it's on you. But if you fail at what they want you to do, you never had your shot. Well, how close do you have to be to get your shot? You had the microphone in your hand. Go with it.
That's again, that goes back to what we talked about. I think it was last week. We talked about Jake saying, you know, you got to take control of your own destiny.
Yeah.
And then later on, me saying to him, dude, you need to change what you're doing. You need to stop wearing those negative shirts that you see every day. You look in the mirror, you see wasted youth.
Yeah.
And then he came back with that T-shirt that he designed, which people could get that T-shirt. One of the huge things, zipping forward now to when we were in the accountability crib, when he came up with, you know, my history is not my destiny. There was a point in time where Jake he was doing really great, and the shoulder just went out.
God.
You know, and people don't understand, like our shoulders, you know, our knees, our back, our necks, you know, some of us, like I do a lot to keep myself being mobile. And when Jake was on that run of working at the crib with me, that shoulder went out, man. Now he's finally there. And it was like, it was a depression that hit him.
Oh my God.
Hard, you know, that he couldn't. Now I'm finally really doing this. I'm putting the work in, and now this goes.
But that addiction was screaming in my ear. See, I told you. I told you you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, you're never going to do it. This is never going to happen.
Do it.
What are you thinking that
You're
you should be? You should be. You're going to do what? You're going to turn your life around? You're never going to turn your life around.
Let's get high.
And that's the negative emotional stuff that people do to themselves all the time. I deal with so many different people, and the emotional gravity of pulling themselves down, that repetition of that affirmation, that's negative. Well, it works the other way too. And this was the magic that was you, the people out there, because when Jake needed this, Steve Yu, and you'll hear us mention Steve Yu a lot. He's the president of my company.
And not always in a good way.
Always in a good way. We might be aggravated about it, but it's still positive.
And much more.
But he is the yin and the yang of me and him together. Like I couldn't have done it without him and Linda. Like he said, it took a village to do it, to get Jake to where he was going. But when it came down to the emotional gravity of pulling yourself down, I found a way. Well, actually, I didn't find a way. Steve, that's why I brought this up. Steve said, why don't we do a GoFundMe?
Yep.
I never really heard of any of that stuff. Back then it was called Kickstarter, the one that we went with. Indiegogo. Thanks, Steve. Indiegogo. So Jake's like, oh man, I don't know what to say. Because again, you feel so worthless and so unwhole. And I'm like, listen, bro, just say what you feel. Like I get choked up just thinking about that moment because it was so real.
This is such a huge moment in my recovery too.
Humongous. And it was just him, reaching out. And for it wasn't like send me money. It was pictures and video, Zoom calls before there were Zoom calls. It was the T-shirt, it was the DVD. There was all these different packages you could buy. If you go back, Jake's autograph minimum is $40. For that, it was like 15. So it was a special moment. There was like between Scott and Jake, there were over 4,000 people
Wow.
that donated. And if you watch the resurrection of Jake the Snake, at the end of it, the credits, you'll see all 4,000 plus names up there of the people who helped out. But letting him see that the people cared.
Yeah, my daughter was there, and it was such a huge moment because she was there too. And I didn't know anything about this Indiegogo crap or people, actually helping somebody. I'm like, who's going to help me? Look at me. Look at what I am. Why would anybody give me that money? And they said, yeah, we'll have it up there for a month. Hopefully we can raise enough money to have your surgery, because I didn't have any insurance. I didn't have anything going for me. I just knew that I was done, man. I figured I was on the way out the door. And the next day, 24 hours, we had already reached what I needed.
Yeah.
Surgery. And I literally nearly shit myself. I couldn't believe that many people really cared about me. Unfucking real.
Where are we at?
Holy cow.
7,000.
In one night?
7,000 out of 9,200.
It still blows me away, man. It blew my daughter away. She's like, Dad, look, people do care about you. We do love you. And sorry.
Well, that's the magic of what the resurrection of Jake the Snake is really about. It's people really caring about people, because that's what helps people start to feel worthy,
It's interesting to watch you guys on camera. You guys are both in Georgia right now, and you're basically brothers in the wrestling business. And there's a TV show we talked about last week that we mentioned we were going to talk about this week, a couple of brothers in the wrestling business. It's Heels on Stars.
Yeah.
And you guys just recently watched, I think, Jake, you saw for the first time episode 1 and 2, and that show really had a profound impact on you, right, Dallas?
I guess with all the wrestling podcasts, because you handle some of the biggest names in wrestling
Well, now he handles the biggest.
That's right.
And
Your voices.
yes. Let me just turn this ringer off. I don't know, thousands of podcasts, because anybody can do a podcast today.
That's right.
Unfortunately.
And all around the world, there's got to be 1,000 different podcast people that are talking about wrestling. Yeah, probably more than that. So it really kind of blew my mind as I just started doing any kind of research, and anybody talked about heels. And I know Stephen Amell through Cody. I've met him. I'll tell you, the first time I saw him in the ring, I didn't know it was him. It was at All In, and I was up in the balcony for some people they wanted me to go up there and meet. And I just looked down, I started watching this kid work, and I was like, who is that? I don't even know who the hell that is. I go, he's pretty good. So I came downstairs and I go, Cody, who was the guy that was just in that match? He goes, that's Stephen Amell. He's my buddy. But I go, that's Stephen Amell? And he had just walked through the curtain. Cody gave him a big hug, introduced us. I hugged him. I was like, dude, great job.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's a thing to be an actor, and then there's things that like being a wrestler. And obviously
he's more wrestler than actor.
He just grabbed it. It's kind of like, who's the biggest star in the world today? Oh, he's a wrestler.
Yeah.
The Rock. We couldn't be more prouder of that. And now Cena's killing it, Batista killing it, so, to see a guy come back over to our side and still do the acting part of it, I was impressed with him. So when I heard that this show that's called Heels, I heard about it probably 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Julie Yorn, she's one of the main producers. And I had, through a friend of hers, had dinner with her and got to know her, have her number. And when I saw the script, it's episode 1. I got to say, I thought it was kind of hokey in the beginning. I thinking, wait a minute, they're going to try to be shoot, but show it's a work. and like how are they going to do that? And the script that when I read it, I saw Wild Bill. That's me. Like that's going to be my character. And bottom line is, you look at the guy who plays that, and he, what's his name? I want to make sure I remember his name. Where the hell is he? How did I not write that down? Whatever his name is right now, that's the only guy should have played that.
Chris Bauer.
And what's his name?
Chris Bauer.
Chris Bauer. That's it. Yeah. He is one of us. Like, he is one of the boys. He definitely stole some
from the 60s and 70s.
Yes. Yes. I thought there's nobody should have played him but him. What did you think about him, Jake?
Well, I thought he did a phenomenal job, but I think when I watched it, Dallas told me about it, and I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a bunch of shit, because normally I just don't, I guess my mind's still caught up into the let's keep it a shoot, mentality for the fans, but they nailed some spots, man. They nailed some things. Like, the first thing they did right was they exposed the babyface as a complete asshole, selfish little bastard. That's what real baby faces are,
especially ones who never were heels.
Yeah, that's what they are. I mean, if you go into the locker room and you look around, the heels are going to get up and come shake your hand and ask you how you're doing. The baby faces are going to go, don't put your bag near my bag. What the hell? That's my mirror. Don't look at that mirror. Don't even look at that mirror. They just nailed it so much. A typical baby face.
But before you go, so that's Ace Spade.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's one of the brothers. And the other brother is Jack Spade, who is Emil. And from my side of it, I remember him from Vikings.
I didn't see that either.
That's a kid. The kid can really act. And to grab the mannerisms of a baby face who's never worked as a heel and has monster entitlement.
Oh, yeah.
And
from the arena rats up.
Right on out, man.
She plays a good rap.
No, I'll tell you what, that chick's money. Kelly, I think
give her my money.
Kelly Berglund. Kelly Berglund. She plays this little crystal girl who's like, loved the top baby face back there. Who's a football star.
I love him.
So there's a major infatuation there. But as time goes on, you see, like, even when the first episode, you're like, wow, this chick, she's got something different here. And she's rounding that way there. I liked and I went back and watched it a second time. And the first time, that first hour, that first show was a little hard to get through, because they have to explain to people, okay, these are the baby faces. These are the good guys. These are the heels. They're the bad. And then they try to explain kayfabe. They don't really do a good job.
They did a bad job on that.
That didn't work.
I thought they did a great job with Ace being blinded by the light, opportunity of the big show. He's going to screw his brother over and leave the family behind, including the bimbo.
Yeah, she ain't going anywhere.
She ain't going nowhere with him.
And this is this isn't what happens. We're just giving you our feel interpretation.
But being blinded by that light, and then the other brother having to do the hard thing. And I was really impressed with the finish of that match.
Let's go there on that. Now, on the other side of it, we'll talk about that next week.
All right.
Because we'll get into where that goes.
Yeah.
But this is something that I think, if you're a wrestling fan,
you need to watch it.
You need to watch it. And you haven't seen it yet, you're going to binge it.
They play the fans pretty well too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
they really do.
Better light than most people would have. Lots of times wrestling fans are poked fun at, but hey, they're just people enjoying something, man.
And that's the part that I really respected of it, because in Ready to Rumble, we had everything from cool fans to the really hardcore Copenhagen Dippy Coupon Club.
You go to WrestleMania 6 and you got Mary Tyler Moore at ringside. I went out and gave her $100 bills from DiBiase.
Yeah.
I tried to get it back afterwards. You wouldn't do it.
But they do, and that's what I thought was a really good part. The wrestling fans are seen as like, we appreciate what you do. And that's where they even get to a point about being fake, don't use that word.
Yeah.
Where they could have said, like, it's not that people, they understand what this is. This is a show. This is, I can remember I was doing PR for Ready to Rumble, and everybody was so respectful except for one guy. And this one guy, he's a reporter, and he's asking me questions. And at some point I go, let me ask you a question. I said, you don't respect what we do you? He said, honestly? I said, yeah, honestly. He said, not really. I said, so let me ask you a question. Are you a Broadway fan? You like Broadway shows? He goes, oh, of course. He goes, that's amazing. I said, what's your favorite Broadway show? He said, have to be Phantom of the Opera. I said, I don't want to spoil it for you, but the guy doesn't really get burnt with oil. And the camera guys, they just popped. And freaking, I said, dude, every night they do the same finish.
Yeah.
I could work with the same guy 30 nights in a row.
Oh,
Never do the same finish.
never.
It's never do the same match. Never grab the same emotions.
Nope.
I go, that's what makes ours really special. And the people who love what we do, they get it and they respect it. And today, what they're doing today is still different than what we did, but it's still wrestling. And still the same fans appreciating these guys taking the most unbelievable, just watching some of the matches. I'll tell you what was a really great match that I really, really loved in AEW recently was when Bryan Danielson came in and worked with Omega. Like that match was really amazing.
If you watch that and you can't think that's amazing, then you're an idiot.
It's an art form, and these guys are beating the hell out of their bodies. And that's the part too. There was some really cool shit that you'll see when they're showing the matches, like pieces of it. I don't want to tell you what they did. But I was like,
some really cool.
wow,
And they slow it down so you can actually see where the guys, well, what the hell? How do you do that?
Right. And Matt,
I don't know, because I never did that.
But it was magical. So again, like I said, for episode 1, you go back, and then after, next week, we're going to talk about the finish and what we thought. Well, we're going to tell you right away, spoiler alert. If you want to hear this, go back and listen to episode 3 before you come to 4. Because at the end of each week, we're going to talk about the week before's finish of what we really thought of the whole program. Did it hit us right? Did it take us with some stuff like the one thing they did with the oxys and the pills, that kind of pissed me off.
That was cheap.
That was lame.
Well, that's somebody going for the cheap heat again.
And I'll tell you why it was so lame. You talk about Oxycontin and you bite into it, you could die.
And you can't snort it. Just biting it in half. Trust me, I know you got to crumble it up real good. I'm sorry.
Yes. The bottom line is, if you're going to be as good as I think a lot of this is,
why cheapen it?
You don't need the cheap heat and the cheap pop. Be legit, because that just was going to get you more respect.
Why have the guy wearing snakeskin? Nobody does that.
But he did it cool though.
Okay.
He did it cool.
I didn't like his haircut.
All right.
I want to
somebody.
Hey, Chris Bauer, great job, brother. You're my favorite character on the show. Really like. I love what Ace is doing, and Kelly and Jack. I like the wife too.
Oh, I do too.
She's gorgeous. But girl next door.
The mom.
The
mom does a great job.
The mom does a great job. I mean, they're really, when you find something special like this, and that's another reason why we're talking about it.
It's different.
It's different. You might go, oh, that's lame, but you got to give it a get. I didn't really get into it when I started watching it until the 3rd episode. For the first two, but going back, I got into it right away again to look at it again so we could talk about this. So,
Yeah.
like I said, that's what
It's
we're
like
going to do.
anything else. If you watch 2 or 3 times, you're going to pick up different things.
Right.
You know, Marlon Brando said it best years ago. So the greatest actors in the world are professional wrestlers because they go out there and do it every night in front of a different crowd and for a different opponent, and they get it done each and every time.
It's funny too, because that same shit you did in Memphis ain't going to get over in Tampa, Florida.
You got to read the crowd. You have to
know?
read your crowd each night. That's what a lot of guys have a problem with.
Well, let me mention,
Right,
I totally agree with you guys on heels. I didn't love the first episode. I thought, well, I don't really think that, I mean, some of it was a little silly. It felt like they were hitting you over the head with it. But this is a show made for us wrestling fans. Some of the titles of the show are kayfabe, Dusty Finish, Cheap Heat, cutting promos. But I do agree with your assessment, Dallas, that it took me a few episodes to get into it, and now I love it. But don't just take our word for it. Right now, everybody in the world is talking about Yellowstone. It's probably the biggest show in the world. If you go to Rotten Tomatoes, it's got an 80% average tomato meter and an average audience score of 85%. Squid Game, which is the most watched show in the history of Netflix, has 94% and 83%. Ozark, which is probably the second biggest hit on Netflix, has 81 and 89. Heels has 96 and 92. It's rated higher than any of those other shows. So if you're a wrestling fan,
I did not know that.
if you're listening to this show and you're a wrestling fan, you owe it to yourself to watch Heels, but don't give up after episode 1. Hang on. This is critically acclaimed, but unfortunately, Dallas, and you alluded to this last week, not a ton of people are watching this. The ratings were not through the roof, but it is a critical success. And if you're a wrestling fan not watching it, you're missing out. And the only way we're going to get more content like this is to support this show. So go out of your way to find it on Stars.
No, 100%. You know what I liken it to? Friday Night Lights.
Mm-hmm.
Friday Night Lights did not have the viewership, but they were critically acclaimed through the roof. And to me, that's the best of all the shows I've ever watched, because those characters, like, you felt for it, you were with them. If you didn't like football, they
stole your hearts.
Yeah, they really did.
And that's what we do.
Right. And there's going to be people who are going to get tuned in who aren't wrestling fans. And I think you will dig it too, because you'll start to understand like how things work and how it happens and how you tell the story.
And some of the turmoil.
Oh, yeah. A lot of the turmoil and the backstabbing and people who get really upset that why not me? Why not me now? No, I deserve. The Rooster guy, he's awesome.
Did you say Rooster? Are you talking about
that's his
Terry
character. That's his Terry Taylor, not Terry Taylor.
I mean, he actually gets over in this one, though. It's
Alan Melandano. He's good. I mean, really, I like them all.
Even James Harrison. Even though he played for Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah, we're talking about James Harrison. Yeah, he 5-time All-Pro and a walk-on. He was undrafted and was a 5-time All-Pro. Got 2 Super Bowl rings, and I they all. I really think getting in second season. I think whoever really pushed this could, it could really turn into something big. And it's another thing for wrestling fans to give yourselves credibility with your friends who are pissed off at you because you like wrestling.
I mean, you guys are right on the money with that. My wife, Megan, for obvious reasons, is not the world's biggest wrestling fan. But she never missed an episode of Heel. She couldn't wait to see it. So much like my mom doesn't love football, but she won't miss Hard Knocks on HBO. This is a great way to introduce the story of professional wrestling. So it's not just matches, if that makes sense. It's for everybody.
Yeah. Right. And it's story. It's family things. And one of the things that I will talk about here, and I'll get away from it. To me, this is Florida Championship Wrestling. Back when Eddie Graham was running the territory and it popped.
I was there.
And this Eddie Graham killed himself.
For his son.
And in this scenario, their dad killed himself, and you don't know why. And that's something that you can feel it as it moves forward. And then later episodes, some of the things they do. But that, Michael Graham was a really good friend of mine. Michael Graham may be the reason why I'm sitting here, because, I got my first break in AWA by myself, but I was never really going anywhere like that. And then Mike Graham invited me up to the Eddie Graham Memorial, and Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond, my wrestlers, were booked on the card, and they asked me if I wanted to come. I got me, my buddy Rock Hard Rick, who's guy I videoed wanting to be a wrestler. And, he wanted to be a wrestler. And I had $2 diamond dolls in the back of my 62 pink Cadillac. This will be very reminiscent of the story I told a couple of weeks ago when we were driving Rick Rude's 64 mint condition convertible Impala, up from Jacksonville up to Atlanta, and we broke down. The thing I said right before we broke down that night was, this car's unbelievable. They feel the AC. It's unbelievable. I'm going, this is just like, it reminds me of my 62 pink Cadillac where I was driving to the Eddie Graham Memorial and it threw a rod. And 5 minutes later, that's when the generator light went on. And that's what happened from Fort Myers to Tampa. My Cadillac threw a rod, the one I drove in WrestleMania 6, threw a rod. And here I am pulled over to the side of the road. And I called AAA. They're coming to pick it up. Some guys, two rednecks, come by in a pickup truck. Hey, ain't you the guy who runs Norma Jeans? I go, yeah, man. Go, man, we love that place. I'm like, hey, you guys wrestling fans? I'm like, hell yeah. I go, hey, I'm also Diamond Dallas Page. I got a gig up in Tampa. If you guys come, I'll get you in free. Hold on, we're just going to get some beer. We'll be right back. They went and got the beer, come back. Somehow there's a girl in the middle. Now with them, they come back. They take me and Rick. We get in the back of the cab, the exposed cab, and it looks like it's going to rain any second. And they're handing us beers through the little window of the car.
What we'll do to get there.
And I got there. Gordon Soley was walking outside.
Oh, wow.
Go around the back. Mike Graham never forgot that I made that show. And Johnny Ace, Johnny Laurinaitis, and I would become monster friends off of that for decades, best friends. But Mike remembers this when Dusty is coming in to boot Florida Championship Wrestling. So here's what happens. Dusty, the NWA, all the stuff that Turner bought for what was going to become WCW. Well, Rick's going to get the book. They want Dusty to turn heel. And he went, not happening. And he called up Mike and going to come to Florida and going to repop Florida. That's the goal. So I get this call at 6 a.m. And at 12 at night, I'm getting ready to crash out because I got a 6 o'clock flight in the morning. And I'm just going to let it go to the answer machine. And I hear Diamond Dallas Page. This is Michael Graham. Pick up the phone. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Mike. I go like, hey, Mike, hey, I got strep throat. I really can't talk. I got to go to AWA show tomorrow. I really can't talk. Can we talk later? I don't want to hear that shit. I'm sitting here with the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. I'm going to put you on the phone with him. He's been talking. He wants to bring in Humperdinck or Gary Hart or Baby Doll. And I was like, this guy, Diamond Dallas Page, no one's seen him really yet. He could be a really good manager. I want you to get on the phone with him and I want you to blow him away like he's the biggest mark in the planet. And I'm like, Dusty Rhodes? Like, I can't even talk. Please show him my videotape I sent you. He goes, my videotape machine's broken. You're on. And I hear, hello? Go Good God, Dusty Rhodes, the Tower of Power, the man of the hour. I spit off about 40 seconds friggin' of just jibber jabbers. I stole his shit. I stole Albano's shit. I stole my own shit, put it all together. And at the end, I go, that's all I got, Dream. I've got strep throat. Hello?
And you got a job.
Dusty? And friggin', it seemed like he waited 5 minutes. It was probably 10, 15, 30 seconds. I don't know. But then I heard that voice. Was that a recording, kid? And I said, no, that's me. He said, I want you to come on up here. I want to talk to you. And that's how I got in Florida Championship Wrestling, going up there off of Michael Graham. And Michael Graham, who also took his own life. And that's right before you came in the crib. Because you want to know how dark the spot is that Jake was in. Jake would get pissed off when he would hear someone else had died and it wasn't him.
I get angry at God and curse God, man. Why don't you take me? You know, just curse him. I mean, I'm ashamed of the things I said to God, but I was jealous of people dying. I remember being at the sensational Sherry's funeral. And they asked me to say a couple of words, and I went up there and I said, Sherry, how come you didn't take me with you? Don't you love me?
So going back to heels, that's some of the stuff that's going on in the background. And that's why
It's brewing.
I really was, when I heard that they got a second season, I was like, cool.
Time to go.
Well, we're going to wrap up episode 3. We talked about what Jake did after WCW and picked up a little heels. Next week, we'll talk about when Diamond Dallas Page's dream with WCW seemingly came to an end, and we'll pick it up where we left off with heels. Hit the subscribe button and tell your friends about your new favorite wrestling podcast. It's a lot more than a wrestling podcast. It's DDP Snake Pit, and we'll see you back here next week.
See ya.